He had checked Bareilly, so I wired your friend Dwarka there. After inquiries in a Calcutta neighborhood, I learned that cousin Jatinda had been absent one night but had arrived home the following morning in European garb. I sought him out and invited him to dinner. He accepted, quite disarmed by my friendly manner. On the way, I led him unsuspectingly to a police station. He was surrounded by several officers whom I had previously selected for their ferocious appearance. Under their formidable gaze, Jatinda agreed to account for his mysterious conduct. I started for the Himalayas in a buoyant spiritual mood, he explained. Inspiration filled me at the prospect of meeting the masters. But as soon as Mukunda said, during our ecstasies in the Himalayan caves, tigers will be spellbound and sit around us like tame pussies, my spirit froze. Beads of perspiration formed on my brow. What then, I thought, if the vicious nature of the tigers be not changed through the power of a spiritual trance, shall they treat us with the kindness of house cats? In my mind's eye, I already saw myself the compulsory inmate of some tiger's stomach, entering there not at once with the whole body, but by installments of its several parts. My anger at Jatinda's banishment was evaporated in laughter. The hilarious sequel on the train was worth all the anguish he had caused me. I must confess to a slight feeling of satisfaction. Jatinda too had not escaped an encounter with the police. Ananta, you are a born sleuthhound. My glance of amusement was not without some exasperation, and I shall tell Jatinda I am glad he was prompted by no mood of treachery as it appeared, but only by the prudent instinct of self-preservation. At home in Calcutta, Father touchingly requested me to curb my roving feet until at least the completion of my high school studies. In my absence, he had lovingly hatched a plot by arranging for a saintly Pandit, Swami Kebalananda, to come regularly to the house. The sage will be your Sanskrit tutor, my parent announced confidently. Father hoped to satisfy my religious yearnings by instructions from a learned philosopher, but the tables were subtly turned. My new teacher, far from offering intellectual aridities, fanned the embers of my God aspiration. Unknown to Father, Swami Kebalananda was an exalted disciple of Lahiri Mahasaya. The peerless Guru had possessed thousands of disciples silently drawn to him by the irresistibility of his divine magnetism. I learned later that Lahiri Mahasaya had often characterized Kebalananda as Rishi or illumined sage. Luxuriant curls framed my tutor's handsome face. His dark eyes were guileless with the transparency of a child's. All the movements of a slight body were marked by a restful deliberation. Ever gentle and loving, he was firmly established in the infinite consciousness. Many of our happy hours together were spent in deep Kriya meditation. Kebalananda was a noted authority on the ancient Shastras or sacred books. His erudition had earned him the title of Sastri Mahasaya, by which he was usually addressed, but my progress in Sanskrit was unnoteworthy. I sought every opportunity to forsake prosaic grammar and to talk of Yogi and Lahiri Mahasaya. My tutor obliged me one day by telling me something of his own life with the master. Rarely fortunate, I was able to remain near Lahiri Mahasaya for 10 years. His Benares home was my nightly goal of pilgrimage. The Guru was always present in a small front parlor on the first floor. As he sat in lotus posture on a backless wooden seat, his disciples garlanded him in a semicircle. His eyes sparkled and danced with the joy of the divine. They were ever half closed, peering through the inner telescopic arc into a sphere of eternal bliss. He seldom spoke at length. Occasionally, his gaze would focus on a student in need of help. Healing words poured then like an avalanche of light. Indescribable peace blossomed within me at the Master's glance. I was permeated with his fragrance as though from a lotus of infinity. To be with him, even without exchanging a word for days, was experience which changed my entire being. If any invisible barrier rose in the path of my concentration, I would meditate at the Guru's feet. There, the most tenuous states came easily within my grasp. Such perceptions eluded me in the presence of lesser teachers. The Master was a living temple of God whose secret doors were opened to all disciples through devotion. Lahiri Mahasaya was no bookish interpreter of the scriptures. Effortlessly, he dipped into the divine library. Foam of words and spray of thoughts gushed from the fountain of his omniscience. He had the wondrous clavis which unlocked the profound philosophical science embedded ages ago in the Vedas. If asked to explain the different planes of consciousness mentioned in the ancient texts, he would smilingly assent. I will undergo those states and presently tell you what I perceive. He was thus diametrically unlike the teachers who commit scripture to memory and then give forth unrealized abstractions. Please expound the holy stanzas as the meaning occurs to you. The taciturn Guru often gave this instruction to a nearby disciple. I will guide your thoughts that the right interpretation be uttered. In this way, many of Lahiri Mahasaya's perceptions came to be recorded with voluminous commentaries by various students. The Master never counselled slavish belief. Words are only shells, he said. Win conviction of God's presence through your own joyous contact and meditation. No matter what the disciple's problem, the Guru advised Kriya Yoga for its solution. The yogic key will not lose its efficiency when I am no longer present in the body to guide you. The technique cannot be bound, filed, and forgotten in the manner of theatrical inspirations. Continue ceaselessly on your path to liberation through Kriya, whose power lies in practice. I myself consider Kriya the most effective device of salvation through self-effort over to be evolved in man's search for the infinite. Kebalananda concluded with his earnest testimony. Through its use, the omnipotent God, hidden in all men, became visibly incarnated in the flesh of Lahiri Mahasaya and a number of his disciples. A Christ-like miracle by Lahiri Mahasaya took place in Kebalananda's presence. My saintly tutor recounted the story one day, his eyes removed from the Sanskrit texts before us. A blind disciple, Ramu, aroused my active pity. Should he have no light in his eyes when he faithfully served a master in whom the divine was fully blazing? One morning, I sought to speak to Ramu, but he sat for patient hours, fanning the Guru with a handmade palm leaf, punka. When the devotee finally left the room, I followed him. Ramu, how long have you been blind? From my birth, sir, never have my eyes been blessed with a glimpse of the sun. Our omnipotent Guru can help you. Please make a supplication. The following day, Ramu diffidently approached Lahiri Mahasaya. The disciple felt almost ashamed to ask that physical wealth to be added to his spiritual superabundance.